Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending to this talk. My name is Thibaut Jens, and I work as a senior scientist in the Immuno-oncology department at Immunexperts, a company created in 2014 and mainly focusing on in vitro assay to accelerate drug development. During the first years, our activity was mainly focused on the assessment of immunogenicity. With the booming of the immune checkpoint field, several in vitro tools were developed to support oncology drug development. In March this year, Immunexpert joined the Nexelis group, a leading provider of assay development and advanced laboratory testing. Getting a drug to the market takes a long time. Looking at the whole process, we need to start from target selection and lead discovery using genomic and proteomics. Performing medicinal chemistry such as library development, in silico screening, and from there move to in vitro and in vivo screening. And after that, finally, the first in many applications in several clinical trials to hopefully get to market authorization. We believe that if we have more and better in vitro assay, we should be able to move quicker from this step to this step, and also reduce the use of animals. No doubt you all know this nice cartoon from the Chen paper about the cancer immunity cycle, showing all different parts where immune cells interact with cancer cells and what type of therapies can be used and developed. Ideally, we should have an in vitro assay for each specific part. That's also why we often call this the Wheel of Fortune. At Immunexpert, we develop different assays for these different specific parts. In the presentation of today, we will mainly focus on T-cell assay and myeloid assays that we have developed at Immunexpert. One of our latest assay development was focusing on T-cell exhaustion. The exhaustion of the T-cells is found in disease where there is an antigen persistence that is continuously stimulating the T-cells. It's the case in chronic viral infection, but also in the tumor microenvironment. The T-cell exhaustion was first studied in LCMV mouse infection models. In this model, under chronic inflammation, the expression of specific cell surface markers are found on T-cells, such as PD-1 or LAG-3. The increased expression of this marker is also linked to a loss of T-cell effector function. This also correlates with an increase of cell apoptosis and with a decrease of the T-cell activity. It's also interesting to note that recently, exhaustion phenotype was observed in COVID-19 patient T-cells. So we developed an assay that mimics the tumor microenvironment or the chronic viral infection leading to a T-cell exhaustion. This assay can be used to screen products that reverse or prevent exhaustion to accelerate the immunotherapies development. PD-1, TIM3, LAG-3, or CTLA-4 are markers that are found to be overexpressed on exhausted T-cells. If we compare the freshly isolated T-cells with the exhausted T-cells that we induce in vitro, we can observe that PD-1, TIM3, and LAG-3 expression is increased on the CD4 T-cells. We observe several similar results with the CD8 T-cells. The exhausted T-cells present also a loss of effector function that is really important in the chronic infection context, but also in the tumor context. The secretion of T-cell cytokines such as IL-2, TNF-alpha, and interferon gamma is decreased during the in vitro chronic stimulation. This decrease of the cytokine secretion is also linked to a decrease of T-cell proliferation, a decrease of cytotoxic activity, and a decrease of the viability of the cells. The tumor antigen persistence induces continuous T-cell stimulation, leading to a T-cell exhaustion that we can characterize by the expression of a marker like PD-1, LAG-3, and TIM3 that are found on T-cells in the tumor microenvironment. This exhaustion leads to a loss of T-cell activation capacity. There is already different molecules on the market or under clinical trials that target this mechanism to try to recover some of this exhausted phenotype and to reinvigorate the T cells to increase the immune response against the tumor cells and the tumor antigen. So this is the assay setup that we have developed at Immuno-Experts. This can be performed with either CD4 T cells, CD8 T cells, or pan T cells. We start from cryopreserved PBMC. On one side, we isolate the T cells, and we perform the T cell exhaustion that consists in a chronic stimulation with agonists of CD3 and CD28. Then we obtain these exhausted T cells with the high expression of TIM3, LAG3, and PD1. In parallel, we perform an isolation of monocytes from the same donors to generate immature dendritic cells. Then, we perform a culture of both cell types in presence of suboptimal concentration of SUB and test compound. Before going to the result of this exhaustion assay, we went deeper in the characterization of these exhausted T cells. We look at different translation markers such as BATF and BLIP1. These translation factors are highly expressed on exhausted T cells in comparison to non-exhausted T cells. And we can observe that in both CD4 and CD8 T cells, we have an increased expression of this transcription factor. So in this case study, we evaluate two molecules in our on vitro T cell exhaustion assay. So we observe that the exhaustion of the T cells reduces the IL-2 secretion in comparison to the non-exhausted T cells in all three tested donors. In the non-exhausted T cells, we observe that Opdivo, a clinical anti-PD-1, induces an increased IL-2 secretion in all tested donors. This same molecule reverse partially exhaustion in two of the tested donors, and urelumab, a clinical anti-CD137, reverse slightly the exhaustion in one of the test donors. So this result shown that this model can be used to assess the potential effect of therapeutics on the exhaustion of T cells in vitro. And so this assay can be used to screen, test different target molecules. Next to this T cell exhaustion assay, we have other assays that we can use to assess the T cell activation and the effect of a test compound on this T cell activation. We can perform the mixed lymphocyte reaction assay. In this assay, the cells from two donors are mixed together to induce an immune response. In this example, immature dendritic cells from one donor were mixed with CD4 T cells from another donor. In this model, we test an anti-PD-1 and an anti-PD-L1. And we observe that both these molecules induce an increased interferon gamma secretion after 5 days of incubation in all test donors in comparison to the control condition. This MLR can be used in different formats depending on the target expression. So for example, if it's not expressed on immature dendritic cells but on mature dendritic cells, and so we can mix immature DC or mature DC with pan T cells, CD4 T cells, or CD8 T cells. We can perform PBMC MLR by mixing PBMC from two different donors. And we can also perform a suppressive MLR using immature DC with allogenic CD4 T cells and Treg. Depending on the target mechanism, we can use different readouts to characterize this response. We can assess the proliferation of the T cells, or for example, of the NK cells in the PBMC MLR if it is of interest. We can look at the cell surface phenotypes and the expression profile of different molecules. And as an example, we can look at the CD25 or CD269 expression on T cells. We can look at the cytokine secretion, and for this we can use different techniques. So we can perform, for example, ELISA, HCRF, Luminex, but also perform ICS staining to look at which cytokine is produced in this system. And we can also perform other customized assays as needed. Next to this assay, we can also perform a CAB recall response or a SAB activation assay. In this assay, PBMC from healthy donors are stimulated with SAB or CMV in presence of the test product. In this example, we study the effect of the nivolumab, so clinical anti-PD-1, or of an anti-PD-L1 on both CD40 cell proliferation and on the interferon gamma secretion. And we can observe that both these molecules induce a slight increase of the CD40 cell proliferation in the two donors tested in this assay. If we look at the interferon gamma secretion, we also observe an increase in comparison to the control condition, and this increase is even more pronounced than on the T cell proliferation. This assay can also this assay can also be used to assess the effect of checkpoint inhibitors, antibodies, but also small molecules. And we used in the past this assay to screen a large amount of small molecules to assess their effect on the immune response. We also have a Treg suppressive assay. In this assay, we FACS sort Treg based on their phenotype, that is CD25 high and CD127 low. And we're doing a co-culture of these Tregs with autologous T cells, which are not suppressive, so it's CD4, CD25 negative T cells, in presence of a CD3 and a CD28 agonist. And we can observe that the proliferation of the T cells co-cultivated with the Treg is decreased in comparison to the CD40 cell alone. And in this experiment, we were able to partially reverse the suppressive effect of the Treg with one test compound. With the T cells, so the CD8 T cells, we can also perform killing assay. This killing assay can also be performed with NK cells. To perform this assay, we recently purchased the new IncuCyte S65 from Sartorius. And to give you an overview of this assay, what we are doing is we are isolating the NK cells or the CD8 T cells from PBMC from healthy donors, and then doing a co-culture of these NK cells or CD8 T cells in presence of the target cells and the test product. And then we can assess the killing over time thanks to the IncuCyte. So next to this assay focusing on the T cells response, we also have assay focusing on the myeloid cells. The myeloid cells, such as macrophages or MDC, are quite important in the tumor microenvironment. Concerning the tumor-associated macrophages, we have the M1-like macrophages that are pro-inflammatory and the M2-like macrophages that are anti-inflammatory, but that can also promote, for example, the vascularization of the tumor. So we have an assay to study the polarization of macrophages and the effect of test compound on this polarization. To perform this assay, we isolate monocytes from cryopreserved PBMC, and we are stimulating them with different cocktail of cytokine to induce M1 or M2 macrophages. For M1 macrophages, we use a stimulation of 6 days of GM-CSF, followed by 2 extra days with interferon gamma. And for the M2-like macrophages, we use a stimulation of 6 days with MCSF, followed by 2 extra days with IL-4, IL-10, and TGF-beta. We can add the test compound from the monocyte isolation to assess their effect on the polarization of the macrophages. We can also assess the effect of a test compound on the fully differentiated macrophages to assess their effect on the shifting of macrophages. So it can lead to a more M1 from a M2 to a more M1 phenotype. To perform the characterization of the macrophages, we can use flow cytometry to measure the expression of different markers. In this example, we use CD163 and CD209 that are markers expressed by M2-like macrophages, but not by M1-like macrophages. CD206 and CD200R are two markers expressed by both types of macrophages, but their expression is higher on M2-like macrophages than on M1-like macrophages. The co-stimulation molecules such as CD86 and CD80 are expressed by both types of macrophages, but their expression is higher on M1-like macrophages than on M2-like macrophages. And finally, PDL1 is expressed by both types of macrophages, but usually the expression is slightly higher in M2-like macrophages for the same donor. In this case study, we assess an anti-LILRB2 antibody on the polarization of macrophages. So the antibody was added from the beginning of the culture, so from the monocyte stages, and we observed that the addition of this antibody through all the differentiation protocol affect their phenotype and induce a decreased expression of both CD163 and CD209. And we can really observe that the addition of this antibody prevents the polarization of macrophages. This assay and this test antibody was based on a result from the literature where it was demonstrated in mouse models that LILRB2 blocking LILRB2 can interfere with MCSF and IL-4 pathway and so prevent the differentiation of M2-like macrophages. We can also use these M1 or M2-like macrophages in a stimulation suppression assay. In this assay, we are performing a co-culture with M1 or M2-like macrophages with autologous CD4 T cells in presence of the test compound. And after 5 days of incubation, we can assess the proliferation and the cytokine production of the CD4 T cells. In gray, you have the CD4 T cell alone, and in purple, the CD4 T cells plus M1. And we can observe that the addition of M1 to the CD4 T cells has a limited impact on the T cells response. With the M2-like macrophages, we observe an important decrease of both interferon gamma secretion and CD4 T cell proliferation in presence of these M2-like macrophages. In this case study, we test Opdivo, a clinical anti-PD-1, the anti-LILRB2 only added during the co-culture with the T cells, and an anti-PD-L1. And we can observe that with these 3 molecules, we are able to increase the interferon gamma secretion in the M2 co-culture. If we focus on the CD4 T cell proliferation, we only observe an increased proliferation with the anti-LILRB2 antibody. So this result shows that it's easier to see a difference in this model in the cytokine production than in the proliferation of the T cells, but some molecules are also able to affect the T cell proliferation. So it can be interesting to look at both readouts. With the macrophages, we also develop an ADCP assay, so an antibody-dependent cell phagocytosis assay. In this assay, the M1 or M2-like macrophages are generated as described before. And in this case study, we perform a co-culture of these macrophages with a B cell lines and rituximab, an anti-CD20 antibody in an IgG1 isoform. And we can observe that the presence of rituximab increase the phagocytosis of the target cell line that is labeled with a proliferation dye in comparison to the control condition with only human IgG1 that trigger a small background but not as much phagocytosis as in conditions treated with rituximab. Finally, I want to give you a few words about the Nexelis facility. So we have different sites in Europe and America. In America, the Laval site in Canada has a BCL2 and BCL2 plus laboratories and animal facilities and focus on infectious disease and immuno-oncology. And this site has a 20-year legacy in vaccine. There is also the Seattle site in USA with state-of-the-art laboratories and a focus on metabolic diseases and oncologic diseases. We also have a partnership with Public Health England with BCL2, BCL3, and BCL4 laboratories and animal facilities. And then the Immuno-expert site in Belgium dedicated to early stage project and R&D. Through all these different sites and different teams, Nexelis is able to help you from the discovery to the phase 3 clinical trials. Thanks to different teams focusing on lead optimization, in vivo assay, in vitro assay, protein science, clinical trial with GCLP lab, and large-scale advanced assay. I would like to thank you for your attention, and I will be happy to take any question. Thank you very much.